Now, Capcom releases the official artwork for SNK, and of course they decided to censor for the modern audience. The gaslighting is that people just don't like boobs anymore. Like, it's probably gay to like boobs in 2024. Like, what is wrong with you? If you want to see cleavage, you need to go watch porn. Like, there is absolutely no way you can see that in fiction. Now, you can see it on OnlyFans, and you can see it on Twitch. But with cartoons, not so much, right? Like, go and see a real woman. Go and see someone's actual daughter stripping herself naked on OnlyFans. That is what Capcom is basically saying, right? That is what the doctors and the engineers and decent members of our community do. Like, they do not do this in video games. Video games are supposed to appeal for people who transition. Like, if you want to get fan service in video games, you need to start liking men. Look at this shit, right? Like, muscular, really nice and appealing, but there is no room for the male gaze. So this is like one of the reasons that a lot of gamers are sick of this shit. The attack on heteronormativity is absolutely blatant. And you can see how the game journalists are cheering whenever you have like a bear sex scene, whenever you have like something disgusting like The Last of Us 2, whenever you have sex with demons in Baldur's Gate, like all those things, they get cheered, they get applauded. But whenever you have like some cleavage, like Stellar Blade, they actively go against it. Because you can also make the argument, okay, you know, like maybe now and then they just want to create a character that's not sexualized, and that's their choice, because they're a private company and can do whatever they want. But when you have a game like Stellar Blade, they freak the fuck out. Like, they're absolutely unhinged. Same with Snowbreaker. Like, the English voice actors decide to boycott Snowbreaker, despite the fact that once they actually opened the gates to fan service, they started earning even more money than before. So, like, this is the number one. It's a blatant attack on heteronormativity. They want to suggest that if you are a healthy young man who is into talking about women and seeing pretty women in their fiction, then there is something inherently wrong with you. There is something disgusting about you. Like, again, this is not pornography, right? Like, this is just like some lewd shit. I grew up with it. I grew up with American Pie. I grew up with the X-Men comics where all the superheroes had skin tight suits. Like, this was just normal. I didn't even think about it, right? It's the same way like when you see violence in fighting games now, you don't really think about it, right? Like when Sindel performs a fatality on Kitana, you don't think, oh my god, the mother is actually killing her daughter. It's like, no, it's a video game. It doesn't even cross your mind. But they make it so that it crosses your mind. They make it so that you feel guilty or ashamed simply because you like something that every other man on the planet does. So that is like number one. But like number two, the reason I hate it is that I know the company is going downhill. And the reason for it is you gotta wonder, why did they decide to do this? Why did they decide to nerf the cleavage from a character that's a joke character? The thing with Mai is that she's got big boobs, so that when she is in a fighting position, the boobs distract her opponent. That's the shit, right? Like, it's fantasy. It's not real. It's a joke. So, why did they decide to nerf it? Did anyone complain? Like, did you have people complaining, threatening to not buy the game? No, absolutely not. It's because they hired consultants. This is part of the diversity, inclusivity, equity movement. That is why it's there. Now, what is wrong with diversity, inclusivity, and equity? Well, we got this person on Twitter, Vocal Distance, which actually does a great analysis and explains to you why games that go woke go broke. And he explains that DEI activism takes resources away from the mission of any company it gets a foothold in, including gaming companies, and it uses those resources as a vehicle to spread the DEI propaganda. In other words, if you actually play this game, you even get a screen in the beginning. You get a splash screen telling you that, oh, actually, we tried to keep the game as original as possible, but it may offend some people, right? Like, that's DEI bullshit. That is absolutely not needed. And they care about it so much that when Tomb Raider had the same splash screen and someone made a mod to remove it, Nexus mods banned that mod. Like, there was no reason to ban it, but the reason is that that is now the product. It's not the video game itself that they care about. It's the splash screen, it's the message, it's what the developers and the journalists talk about online, right? So you need to understand that the DEI, once it infects a company, it actually takes resources away from, as Vocal Distance says, mission critical resources, and it gives it to the DEI. Like all these consultants, they cost a lot of money. They also fuck the company because they come in and they say, well, the coding. Like, no one sees the coding. No one cares about the coding. But they say, no, like, the coding needs to be politically correct. You can't use words like master-slave. You can't use words like blacklist. Like, all this other nonsense makes it harder for people to perform their jobs. So this is bad enough as it is, but it doesn't stop here. As you can see, DEI does not cause immediate catastrophic failure. Rather, what DEI and other woke initiatives do is twofold. The first one is to slowly drain resources from the mission-critical areas such that there are less resources dedicated to accomplishing important tasks and organizational objectives. So, as you know, like games can come out broken on launch. You can have games coming out with important functions missing and they need to be patched later. This is why it's happening. DEI woke initiatives change the hiring standards. So instead of hiring the most competent person, they restrict to a specific race, sex, or gender identity. LGBT, women, POC, etc. I would even say they restrict based on ideology. So you can have like a black person that's very talented, like Thomas Sowell, but they will never hire him. They would rather hire someone less competent. So instead of hiring the best person for the job, they hire someone else. And this is a great example. It removes the most competent people and replaces them with people who are capable but not excellent. It's like trading Michael Jordan for a bench warmer. The bench warmer is still well trained as an NBA player, but he cannot replace Michael Jordan. And we actually saw this happening a couple of months ago. I forgot which team exactly. But there was like this guy that managed to break world records when it came to touchdowns. Like he was the best football player in our generation. And he went to a Catholic school and had like basic bitch Catholic messages, like, you know, on abortions, pro-life, that type of shit. But the cheerleader and other people demanded that he gets fired, right? Like, his political ideology mattered more than his performance on the stage. So, despite the fact that he was bringing eyeballs to the team, despite the fact that sponsors were latching on to the team because it was so popular, and despite the fact that he was breaking world records, none of that mattered, right? Like, they would rather kick the most well-suited person in the entire world to be there just because of the ideology. So they do not want the most talented. They do not want the Michael Jordans. Instead, they want the bench warmers. So the problem when you do that, you get less resources, you get a slight dip in competence, which leads to more errors and mistakes. And this leads to a loss of trust in the organization, loss of sales, partnership, investment, so on and so forth. And eventually they add up like a domino effect. So like Vocal Distance is saying, DEI does not destroy the company right away, but it causes a rot that over the time, we get to see what happened with Blizzard, we get to see what's happening with Ubisoft. They become incapable of actually creating good products. So when I see that they're nerfing the titties, when I see these things, it's not that I can't enjoy a game without the titties. In fact, fuck it, I can even mod it if I want. The problem is that it's a red flag. It is a symptom of the cancer that is within that company. So it actually tells me that they are not interested in creating entertainment. They are interested in the message. And their message is that heteronormativity bad, male gaze bad, being gay is good. You know, that type of thing, which I don't even care about the message at all, because I've heard it a million times by now. But what I do care is about the companies that I grew up with. I actually like Street Fighter. I actually like these types of fighting games. I have a son. I hope that one day when he grows up, he gets to enjoy the games that I enjoyed when I was a kid. But unfortunately, these companies are dead set on sabotaging themselves. And again, we see what happens. It's not just that the quality goes down, it's that the games become insanely expensive as well in order to keep paying for this DEI bullshit. They cost around $120. The teams are over bloated now. I mean, the games nowadays, they're more expensive, they have more people working on them, and they look worse than the games in the past. When Suicide Squad came out, people were playing Batman Arkham City. And I looked at the trailer and fucking hell, do it yourself. And check just to see how Batman Arkham City looks. Look at Catwoman there. And then compare it with Suicide Squad. And take into account Batman Arkham City costed less to make. It was more fun and enjoyable. It had fewer people working on it. And it was cheaper to buy. So now you have games more expensive, shittier, even less entertaining than the ones that existed before. They're preachy. And they're incredibly expensive, and they also force you to purchase all these types of microtransactions and shit. Like, the very fact that you have fucking gacha games, like Snowbreaker, like Nikkei, becoming more popular than AAA, to me is disgusting. And it's not me attacking gacha games, you know, more power to them. If they're able to build up an audience, that's great for them. But the fact that AAA companies are dropping the ball so bad that they're actually lowering the bar to the point where where gacha games are now more popular. It's insane. Absolutely insane. And the reason is, gacha games used to be expensive. Like, everyone stood away from them because the message was clear. You know, you go to gacha games, you spend a lot of money, you end up being broke. But, you know, imagine if you purchase Assassin's Creed now. You gotta pay $120 if you want the whole game, right? You want the package and all that shit. And not only that, but there's also loot boxes, there's also microtransactions associated. You can end up like paying $140, $150. I almost finished Nikkei, which is a gacha game. It's the only one I play. I don't play any others. I didn't spend almost any money on it. I think I spent like 20 bucks once because I felt bad. Like, the game was just throwing shit at me, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I should give something. So I got like a 1-month pass or like something like that gave me 100 crystals every day. And that's it. I spent less on it than I spent on a AAA game. And I got a lot more enjoyment than I get from AAA games. And now Path of Exile is coming out. Another free-to-play game. And I don't have to spend any money on it. So it's disgusting what you're saying, right? Now this is why I'm so appalled when I constantly see these things. When I see that they're nerfing the breast or they're doing that. There is no financial reason for them to do this other than DEI. None whatsoever. Like, there's no artistic reason. There is no gameplay reason. The people that play these games are overwhelmingly young adults that happen to be men. There aren't that many women that play fighting games. I would be surprised if the percentage is even above 15%. So, like, what are they doing it for? What? It makes no sense except the fact that it's ideological and they just want to shame the concept of heteronormativity. Because the game has fan service in it. It's got big muscles from men. It's got, you know, good-looking men. But when it comes to women, they purposefully censor the living shit out of them. As if we're living under Sharia. Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.